So in talking about some of those shortcomings, first, unfortunately, we were unable to see the codification of the Healthcare for Military Families Act in the fiscal year 2022 National Defense Authorization Act. In its simplest form, this bill would have provided for more affordable TRICARE coverage for young adults, and it would have allowed for parents to cover their dependents under their TRICARE plans up until a child's age of 26, regardless of their marital status, education status. And so in its simplest form, this would have moved TRICARE young adult beneficiaries under TRICARE programs to provide for coverage parity with commercial plans. Unfortunately, we did not see this come through in the National Defense Authorization process, but the team is getting after it, and it's one of our top priorities going into the fiscal year 23 NDAA process. Concurrent receipt is an issue that is on the hearts and minds of so many AFSA members. It's probably the number one issue that our military and government relations team hears from our members about. Full transparency, there are 3 outstanding provisions that the team is looking at right now. 2 of them would extend concurrent receipt in full to those with a disability rating below 50%, and the other, which you may have heard is referred to as the Major Richard Starr Act, narrowly tailors concurrent receipt eligibility for Chapter 61 medical retirees. There was only an amendment in the fiscal year 22 NDAA that would have extended concurrent receipt to Chapter 61 medical retirees. That amendment did not make it through the Rules Committee in the NDAA process. And so we were not able to extend concurrent receipt for any cohort of veterans retirees under 50% disabled. This is an issue that we are looking to get after in 23. This is actually probably our number one priority when you really break it down. Let's talk about voting. If you recall, Mr. Reed had put out a video prior to the 21 Legislative Awareness Week talking about the importance of one of the advocacy campaigns that we had on day one, and that was the Reducing Barriers for Military Voters Act. This would have provided for an end-to-end electronic voting system for service members and their families who were stationed overseas. The language that we were in support of did not make it into the final version of the bill, but there was an alternative provision put in there. And what that simply stated was that the Secretary of Defense would have to conduct a feasibility study into determining whether or not that type of electronic voter system could be implemented, and whether or not that would increase access to one of the most important rights we have in our Constitution, and that is the right to vote. So unfortunately, we couldn't see the language that we preferred codified in the bill, but we were awaiting the findings of that study, and we look forward to seeing what the Department of Defense has for us. And the last shortcoming that we did have, this is a big issue that the Military and Government Relations team is working. One that we are cautiously optimistic we will see some progress on as we go through the second session of the 117th Congress. But that is the issue of extending TRICARE coverage of cranial molding helmets. And so what we were looking to do was extend the TRICARE coverage from not only a child who is 3 to 18 months old and has already had craniosynostosis surgery, but to extend that from 3 to 18 months old, regardless of whether or not the surgery was performed, and for non-synostic plagiocephaly to include torticollis. So that is a priority we are working. Unfortunately, no language was put forward in the fiscal year 2022 National Defense Authorization Act process.